Gratitude greetings. I'm super duper happy. It's a heart to heart talk with Rahul George. Yes, he's sweet, he's cute, he's loving, he's caring, and that's what we all need. Formally, he's trained by Dr. Richard Bandler, the co creator of NLP and hypnosis. Rahul is a visionary leader, creator, coach, healer, transformational strategist, and he's the co founder of I Hypnosis Live. With this formal introduction, he's more than these titles, designation. He's a gem of a human being. He's pure godly energy. He smiles, he spreads smiles. He makes sure we shine in divine light because he shines his light 24 by 7, 365 days, offline or online. You can feel him. Welcome, Rahul.
Wow. Thank you, Sunny Bhai. That was powerful, very, very heartful, heartfelt. And as I said just before we went live, that I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this flows because I know that there's always a deeper and a higher purpose behind why people meet. And it'll be beautiful to see how this plays out over the course of our conversation. And as I know you know this, these conversations are not just for you and me. It is as a echo for people who are out there, could be healers, could be coaches, could be seekers, people who are just at that, that beginning phase of asking questions, deeper questions, sometimes more painful questions, but they've already begun that journey. And we know, especially since post COVID, there's been a lot of tremors, a lot of shakeups that have happened, whether it's in our own lives, whether it's in lives of people that are close to us. And so we are now at that point in our lives where we are reassessing ki, who am I, right? Or what am I meant to do? So I'm, as I said, these conversations are, of course, it's for you and me as well. And it's not all going to be heavy and serious. There is also the light and the joyful side of things. But I know that this will definitely serve many, many people in time to come. So thank you for having me here and inviting me on your platform.
I'm super blessed. Thank you for being here. Thank you. राहुल, ये जो कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स हैं,
Mm-hmm.
वी ऑल नीड दिस
Mm.
एंड यू आर अ मास्टर ऑफ इट. स्कूल सब गए हैं,
Mm.
लेकिन मास्टर आप बने हो. तो ये कैसे हो गया?
I don't know about master. I'll say it like this. One of the
मास्टर ऑफ
reasons,
मास्टर्स.
well, I will say it like this. Um, it's not even that it's neither of them. I would say it, and I look at it as mastery, right? So what we're doing, what you're doing, what I have been blessed to do is an act of mastery. So हर दिन हम लोग उठ के we go about our day with the intention of helping other people. Of course, also helping ourselves because if we're only helping other people and not helping ourselves, somewhere there is that deficit that happens. And we've all seen, you know, that can happen sometimes in our own health or, in our, let's say, mental bandwidth where we kind of overstretch and then suddenly we are out of fuel. So the point is that mastery is about showing up every day, is about doing the work. So that's how I look at it. It's not because the moment if I say I am master, you are master, or master of masters or whatever, वो ego वाली बात हो जाती है. And that basically is, the first step to losing our our reason for doing the work that we do. So what's more
यस.
important is mastery rather than just the मैं मास्टर बन गया हूँ या मास्टर बन गई हूँ. It's more than that.
बहुत सुंदर. तो हम मास्टरी की ओर रोज काम करेंगे.
Yes.
तो स्कूल में कोई नहीं सोचता कि
हम्म।
मुझे ना आई हिप्नोसिस लाइफ बनानी है सनी,
हाँ।
तो ये कैसे हो गया?
सो दैट्स अ ग्रेट क्वेश्चन बिकॉज when we start out हमको लगता है कि oh this is what I want to do, right? Like for some people, and if you look at our friends from when we were kids, some of them, a very small number of them knew कि मुझे डॉक्टर बनना है.
हाँ.
Hmm? And some of them were able to follow through, and today, decades later, they are at a point in their life where they are successful, where they really are in sync with the work that they're doing. मतलब कि जो काम कर रहे हैं एंड जो उनको करना है वो दोनों का मैच हो रहा है, राइट? बट एट द सेम टाइम आई एम श्योर वी ऑल्सो नो फ्रॉम आवर से स्कूल डेज, there would be friends who started off in careers, but maybe 5 years later, maybe 10 years later, and I'm sure you'll remember this, when we had started working, suddenly you'd hear of a friend who was in their 20s or late 20s, and they've suddenly stopped practicing as a fill in the blank, right? Could be a dentist, could be an engineer, whatever it is. Yeah. Of course, now if you zoom out and you come to the 2025 era, because also of COVID, in these last couple of years, a lot of people have realized कि जिस पाथ पे हम लोग शुरू किए थे, that is not where I want to be, right? And I'm meant to be doing something else, जो भी वो है, right? So that is the world that we live in. So to answer your question about eye hypnosis life, um, when I started, I always knew it was in the space of working with people, of helping them. Counseling was sort of like the start of it. But I also knew कि counseling in the standard format वो मुझे नहीं करना है, right? So that was the journey. And over a period of time, of course, for me personally, I was able to discover that it is about working with people like me, like us, people who are healers, people who are coaches, and of course, people who are seekers. जिनको एक what is the English equivalent of pana?
सेफ स्पेस, सेफ्टी,
हाँ,
घर
safety,
जैसा.
घर जैसा, right? So that basically was my realization that happened in these last couple of years, that today, thankfully, we have a lot of people who are teaching us what they know, right? Whether it's yoga, whether it is building a business, whether it is to be financially savvy or financially free. So there are, it's like world school जैसे हो चुका है कि if you want to learn something today, you can learn that. But what happens in the life of, and I'm sure you've had your own version of this, in the life of coaches and healers especially, beyond a certain point, certification के बाद भी, there is a gap. And that is the safe space that is iHypnosis Life. मतलब कि you know a lot more now, you can help a lot more people, but कहीं ना कहीं there is a disconnect, right? And so my intention is that when people come into our community, they get an opportunity to just slow down for a little while, to reassess, and then literally tap into their identity, which is one of the key areas that we look at, right? कि आप अगर अपना identity पे, like you really start to focus on who you are, which is identity, that actually starts to realign everything. Then all your courses hai, certifications hai, all of that will start to make sense, right? So that's basically, if I will go deeper into it, but for now, I'm just saying कि the whole concept of iHypnosis life is based on this.
बहुत सुंदर. तो गैप खत्म हो गया. अब मैं
Hmm.
अपने आप को देख पा रहा हूँ, पा रही हूँ. सो अभी आपके कुछ कोर्सेज हैं,
Hmm.
तो कुछ प्रोग्राम्स होंगे, कुछ लाइफ टाइम मेंबरशिप होंगी,
Hmm.
तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा आप बताइए.
Hmm. So we, at this point especially, our focus is a lot on live sessions that we do, because the magic a lot of times happens when people are there in, even though it's on Zoom, but we are here together in one space, right? So that is definitely one of the main features of what we do, where every week we meet. एक तो Monday, Friday को we have something called the eye hypnosis live experiences. As the name suggests, this is your chance to have an experience of what I do, and of course the the community that we have, because the community is all about people holding that space for each other. It's not just, it's not like, oh, yeah, Rahul George ka show hai. It is literally everybody together, comes with that energy, and we're able to hold that space. And that is something, as I said, wo Monday, Friday ko hota hai. The second thing, of course, is on Wednesdays, we also have a session, which is what we call the I Hypnosis Live Communion. As the name suggests, it is a way to meet up with your fellow healers, coaches, and seekers, and to build those bonds, right? तो ये हमारा main frame हो जाता है. Beyond this, of course, for people who want to go deeper, we have something called the foundation. As the name suggests, this is where you're learning how to use hypnosis and NLP in a way where you are not just, so a lot of times, especially now, if I say NLP, especially coaches, if you ask them, they've at least heard of it. Naam to suna hoga, right? So uh, it's not like Rahul naam to suna hoga, it's NLP naam to suna hoga. So it's like they at least are familiar with the concept of what is NLP. They may not be practicing it, they may not be using it on a day-to-day basis, but at least they're aware of it. कि एक तो reframe हो जाता है, या अगर आपको switch करना है, you know, uh, things like this, which or circle of excellence. Like these are things that people may have at least heard of आज के ज़माने में. But a lot of times people are not able to realize how to use that on a day-to-day basis, right? And that's what starts to get blended into the foundation that typically happens on the weekend. So in short, at this point, I would say like there is the entry point where you can at least experience what happens in our community. That's our hypnosis life experiences. And then foundation is where you start that journey of working on, like I was saying a little while back, आपका जो identity है, उस पे, that's where the work really starts. Because a lot of times we make stuff which is not in sync with our identity. I'm sure you've heard of enough stories. आप वेबिनार करोगे, आप ये बेच रहे हो, वो बेच रहे हो, but somewhere inside you're like, नहीं यार, this is not me. Yeah. So the focus is more on being able to work on your own identity, and then we focus on the beliefs. Like when you work on these two areas, and then of course the third is where we focus on your money blueprint hai, money breakthroughs hai. Like these three elements are what bring it all together. And once this starts, then like you said, we talk about lifetime. I'll give you my personal experience after having done this since 2019. So it's about 6, 7 years now. Personally, I know for the kind of person that I am, I don't want to tell you lifetime and then get stuck, because I don't know what we will be doing 5 years from now, right? So I did that initially and I realized that that doesn't work for me when so sometimes we do that, right? Webinar में हम लोग बोलते हैं आपको lifetime access मिलेगा वगैरह वगैरह. It sounds great. And my point is, if you can do it, hats off to you. But ultimately, it's about know thyself, isn't it? So for me, that's the point where I know that. So we sort of, so the simplification is we do a yearly membership. This year, I know we're doing it. So obviously, I'm able to tell you, yeah, when you're coming in, you will get a year-long membership. And of course, it's a renewable membership. So that's the simple way of describing what happens and how people can tap into the power of a hypnosis life.
बहुत बढ़िया, सारे आ जाओ, ज्वाइन करो, और 1 साल के लिए अपने से कनेक्ट करो। क्या
Yes,
चाहते हो, क्यों कर रहा हूं मैं ये?
exactly, exactly.
थैंक यू राहुल।
Yeah.
अब आपको 3 मंत्र देने हैं अपनी
Mm,
जिंदगी से।
mm,
आफ्टर मीटिंग रिचर्ड बैंडलर, आफ्टर लर्निंग एनएलपी एंड
mm,
हिप्नोसिस, तो वो 3 मंत्र क्या होंगे जो
mm,
आपने उनसे सीखे, जो मजा आ गया,
mm.
जो आप आज भी प्रैक्टिस कर?
Correct. So if I look at my life in reverse, matlab aaj se looking back over the last, decade plus. So I met Richard the first time in 2012, right? And of course, my journey with NLP specifically began in 2007. So if I look at the last, 15 to 20 years of doing this work and in the different avatars that I have had, right? And just for context, at one point I used to do theater-based corporate coaching. And I also had a theater group based in Bangalore for many, many years. So, my point being that if I look back, one mantra definitely, and this is something that I keep talking about, and I've been doing a solo pod for the last 3 years, har din, like every single day, right?
तो उसका
Uh,
लिंक भी शेयर कर देंगे.
हाँ, बिल्कुल, right? Uh, so the point is that one mantra would be to show up. Because in the work, especially as healers and coaches, वो हो जाता है कि we are मूड आज मूड है हम करेंगे. टुमारो यू नो कुछ नहीं हो रहा है या किसी ने कुछ आपको बोल दिया, आपका मूड खराब हो गया, और यू जस्ट you're not really feeling 100% and you're like नहीं करना है, I'll do it later. और what is the point of creating content? कोई नहीं देख रहा है, likes नहीं आ रहे हैं. We all had that experience. The flip is that what if I just told myself that no, I will still show up and I will fill in the blank, right? Could be record, I'll be there for my community, do the call, jo bhi ho, right? So the way I look at it, that's one thing that has made a huge difference. And for me personally, if you ask me what was the one thing I learned by doing this pod every single day, apart from obviously like you being on our pod, the I Hypnosis Life coaching journeys, which is where I do what you're doing right now. Um, like we've done more than 90 episodes of that. But the thank you. But the solo pod, if I had to sort of say, okay, what did I learn from it? It is to keep showing up. So no matter what, रात के जो भी कितने भी time हो, it's like I make it a point to record that before I go to bed. And that has sort of become like a simple system, right? Um, so that would be the first thing, which is to keep showing up. The second is that it's like in the work that we're doing, always remember there will be more. So you had said something about, being the master and the master of masters and whatever. My sort of reframe of that is that it's always about mastery. So keep just remember there's more to learn. There's more to uh, incorporate in what you're doing. So that's how I operate, where there are different things that I'm constantly learning that will help me in the business, that will help me in building my community, that will help me in being there more for my community. So there's always that element that that I will keep coming back to and keep reminding people also कि it's like picture तो अभी बाकी है
हाँ.
मेरे दोस्त. Right. The third mantra, since you asked for three, the third will be to remember that there's more to this than us, right? Like you were there at the FCR recently. We were both there, in fact, a week ago, right? And I was so something that so the way I put it is whatever we're doing is happening through us, right? So in the work that we're doing, it's happening through us. Any kind of dissonance, any kind of um, trouble that you're experiencing, instead of saying it's happening to me, just remember it's happening through you. So even if that you take that as a mantra, कि ये जो भी हो रहा है, it's happening through me, then there's always a message not only for me, but for whoever is sitting in front of me, right? So that's something that I practice, and in fact, my prayer every day is that let me continue to be a vessel of your love, healing, and transformation.
दोबारा बोल दो सर.
So the mantra, the prayer actually is that let me continue to be the vessel of your love, healing, and transformation.
बस यही चाहिए था. मन कर रहा है मैं बस अभी बोलूं थैंक यू राहुल. यही है लेसन ऑफ द डे.
Yeah.
राहुल, अब सीरियस बातें बहुत हो गई.
Mm,
अब स्कूल कॉलेज और फिर ये लर्निंग जर्नी, फिर हीलिंग जर्नी, आपने
mm,
हजारों को हील किया है. तो अपने 5 हैप्पीएस्ट मोमेंट्स बता दो आप.
mm. Interesting. 5 happiest
When you
moments.
felt really childlike joy also,
Mm,
material joy also, and your spiritual high level
mm,
nirvana joy.
mm. I love that. So for me, if I, as I'm thinking about it, the connection a lot, and maybe that's just my, who I'm being now. It's like I find a lot of them are connected to the studying or the what we call work, but it's basically the studying that I've been doing, right? So one of them was something that happened. Um, Now it's been about maybe 3.5 years ago. So for the longest time, I wanted to be able to help somebody experience transformation even without doing anything. So without doing any like core process, ki aap acha aankhein band karo, and you do this and you see that and all of that stuff, right? So I got this idea way back in 2010, 11. So it's a good, 12, 15 years ago, that can I be able to just show up and people have an experience where they experience transformation and it just continues on even when I'm not there. So that sort of loop closed for me in 2022. So there was a course that I was doing in um, conversational hypnosis and conversational hypnotherapy. And, sometimes when we attend these programs, we have that moment of quiet and then something just, boom, it just clicks, right? So that was one, definitely for me, that was a really happy moment. And plus, this was a course that I was doing in US timing. तो मैंने इंडिया के 3 साढ़े 3 सुबह के टाइम पे था. So it was like 3:30 in the morning. Obviously, most of India was fast asleep. And for me, it was just sitting there in that quiet because we had gone for like, 3 days that weekend and 3 days before, I think 2 weeks before that. So it was pretty intense. But just sitting there and it was like, wow, sapna sakar ho gaya. Like this was what I had visualized. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen. But in that moment, that feeling was that, that one, वो बोलते हैं ना, like in when we were growing up, we would hear these stories of uh, the various uh, demigods who would like pray for centuries together and then उनको boon वरदान मिल जाता था. It was like, for me, it was that sort of a feeling of, wow. It's like now what I wanted is true. So it's just about, exactly. दे दिया आपने भगवान. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was one of them. Um, if I go further back, there was this one moment where this is in fact, interesting. It was in sequence. It was the end of that year, right? So 22 beginning May when I had this experience. 22 end May. And this was in fact, I'm not sure if you had attended the 22 FBR, which was the first one. I think
नहीं
maybe
मैं
the
तब
next one. You
था ही नहीं,
came, exactly.
ये
So you
24
came
में
on,
आया हूँ.
exactly. 24 was when we met, right? Last year end. So this is, I'm talking abhi 3 saal pehle, the first FBR that was happening. But this was the night before. So even before FBR rolled out, which is the first one they were doing, I had this sudden realization that one, my dad has, and I'm talking many, many years ago, he had been this soul of community, right? So he was in the army and very well known for, putting groups of people together and really like being a driver of community. And that night, before we even, went into FBR the next day, I had this sudden realization that that was the gift he had left me. Because when I was 10, he would be in 45 at that time, he passed away. So for all these years, I had never really understood the connection of who he was and what he did. And obviously, there's only so much a 10-year-old can remember about their parent at that point, right? But in that moment, there was this sudden, like a opening, if you want to call it, that is like, this is that gift that has just been growing with time. And that's one of the reasons why, for me personally, community is something that always gives me joy. So every day I know I have a community session. So high ho ya low ho, the moment, I'm sitting like this with the community, there's like this internal, like the smile quotient just, it just goes right up. Yeah. Mm. Oh yeah, now I'm talking many, many, many years ago. I had this dream of um, काम तो खूब करना है, and this is my advertising days. So I'm talking like this was 1999. It's about 20 26 years back. And I was like, काम तो करना है, खूब करना है, but I want to work in a place that is aligned to my values. And so I didn't know anybody. I barely, like, maybe one and a half people I knew in Bombay, but I said Bangalore से हम Bombay जाएंगे and job लेके आएंगे, right? And so, long story short, finally I'm like leaving the building with some document in hand that says, "Welcome to our company." And this is in fact Rediffusion, which is quite a well-known ad agency. And I was going to handle rediff.com, which was like a big thing back then. This is before the dot com bust, right? 99 mein tha. But more than anything, it was that the feeling I had was like, wow, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it was literally like 4x what I had imagined, right? So and if I sort of zoom out, like these are threads that have been there throughout. कि आप वो क्या था, wish करो dish करो, like you literally, like, live life king size. You think king size, you dream like really really big, and then of course you show up and you do the work, and at the right time वो अपने आप वो like the pieces will connect. So you asked for five, I'll go with three for now, because I know if the other two are meant to pop up वो तो हो ही जाएंगे. But like
हाँ.
these for me are definitely moments in my life where now as I look back, like these have definitely, sculpted uh, my knowing of, like yeah, this is why I do what I do. This is why I am who I am.
One last question.
Mm,
आपने बहुत सारी लाइव्स टच की हैं,
mm,
पॉडकास्ट पॉडकास्ट की बात भी लोगों ने बोला होगा, राहुल मजा,
mm.
है ना? फिर हिप्नोसिस
True.
सेशंस मंडे, फ्राइडे, वेडनेसडे, एंड वन टू वंस भी करते हो आप,
Mm.
आ जाओ. So one super success or most satisfying story,
Mm,
what was the transformation? अगर
mm.
शॉर्ट में
Yeah.
सबको बताना हो कि यार ये पॉसिबल है तो सब कुछ पॉसिबल है.
Mm. So this is a personal story. Um, like I said, journey though in terms of learning began way back, right? Like I'm talking almost a good 20 23 years of the journey of वो नहीं करना है, ये करना है, फिर कैसे करना है, and then exploring different ways to be able to learn. And for me, if I go back in time, personal transformation has always been the driver. कि it's not just about motivating people, while that's important, but it's really about have helping somebody have that personal transformation from within. And so over the years, that has always been the hunger, जो भूख है, that has always been the driver. कि how do I make this happen? How do I make this happen? And interestingly, there were two parts to it. While I kept thinking about how do I make it happen for other people, by the time the journey had sort of wound through the many twists and the turns, and like I said, 2012 say I used to go to the US to learn with Dr. Bandler. And then if you sort of fast forward to 2018, 2018 के शुरू में, little did I know that one was, of course, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that, and this is, mind you, before COVID. So that year literally was like everything was spun way out of sequence, right? So it's like your life to be a certain way, and now it's from literally life and death to bringing some kind of normalcy back, and of course the treatment and all of that. So like I said, there are twofold. This is twofold. One is that I don't know who I would have been or what I would have done if I hadn't spent all this time unknowingly in wanting to create personal transformation for other people. The skills that I learned over a period of time. I really don't know how or what I would have done if I had not gone this route of really wanting to work for others, but obviously through that process working on myself. The second part, of course, like you asked the question, like, is there somebody who you can say, like, हाँ, ये success story हुआ है, it has really, made a difference for them? If I look at it today, so 2018, matlab ki 8 years at this point, 7, 8 years, um, I know that in a large way, that year itself, a lot of me just being there and in the little things or sometimes the bigger things of helping my wife through her journey. See, ultimately, I'm not even going to say mere wajah se hua hai. No, but I know that it's that unspoken sort of beingness that definitely played a role. And as I said from the beginning, it's not for me to say I have, done this and this and this, but I know that the work that was put in, came in at the right time. And obviously, I've seen her change over time. And I know it's like if someone says, do you know that, like, does this work? Does hypnosis work? Does NLP work? I'll say 100%. And of course, everybody has their own personal journey, right? So that's why even when I teach NLP, when I teach hypnosis, I don't approach it from the standard approach. कि जैसे अगर किसी ने practitioner किया है, like a 2 day practitioner हो सकता है, or 7 day or an 8 day, whatever. Like there are different kinds of courses offered. Um, those serve a purpose, but my approach always has been, how do we do it in such a way that you can practice it if you happen to be sitting next to somebody in a train, a bus, or a train for that matter, without them telling them, "Acha, abhi aankhein band karo, haath upar karo." Like these are the things that traditionally have been taught, and they have a purpose. But my intention always is, in a few minutes, can you be able to, as I'm sure you love this, can you be able to bring a smile to their face?
सही है.
That is my motto. That is what drives me. And one of the things that I always say, especially now, I say this to everybody, which is remember to live your purpose. Now, that also means that maybe you don't know what your purpose is at this point, and that's totally fine. Instead of trying to figure out mera purpose kya hai, just keep showing up, and somewhere along the way, the path will clear, and you'll realize ki हाँ ये मेरा purpose है. So if you ask me today, do I know what my purpose is? Probably I know it more than 5 साल पहले या 10 साल पहले या 20 साल पहले. But is this the ultimate purpose? Probably not. But that clarity has only gotten better with time. One, as I said, because I kept showing up. Have I had bad days? Have I had rough days? Have I had days that are like अरे नहीं करना है, or why am I doing this? क्यों भगवान क्यों? Yes, but somewhere there is that sort of re-energizing that happens. And of course, sitting like this, in front of you is also that reminder that, oh yeah, now when I reflect back, I know that I was meant to do this. That's why I've done it. And the message is not just for me, but it's about, you know, being there for other people to remind them that, bhai, aapka bhi ye ho raha hai. You may not recognize it, you may not see it, but you also are changing. And along the way, as you're changing, other people's lives are also improving.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
Thank
I have had a great time.
you.
Audience is going to have a great time. If you have to just summarize
Mm-hmm.
all the wisdom or one mantra,
Mm,
one message,
mm.
what would that be?
Um,
Join the course, मैं समझ गया. आ जाओ. उसके
okay.
अलावा.
Thank you for saying that. I would say, in simple terms, it's just, yeah, let me say it like this. There are many ways of answering a question, but I would say the simplest is just to keep asking yourself this one question, because we all tend to forget it, which is ask yourself the question, what do you want?
अपने आप से पूछ रहा हूँ.
Exactly. And make that into a habit. आप डेली पूछो अपने आप से, and I'll tell you why also. That story, when I shared, that part about my life 2018 में, कि suddenly it's like reality shifted, right? It's like for a lot of us, we experienced that 2 years later. 2020 में जो भी हम लोग अपने आप को मानते थे, सोचते थे, दिस इज मी, दिस इज माई, हु आई एम, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, वो पूरा पलट पलट गया, राइट? इन दोज 2 years between 2020, 21, all the way into 22, people's lives, for a lot of people, it just completely shifted, right? Now, of course, people have been trying to go back to that, but you realize that you can't, right? But my point is that this one question was what saved me. When we literally went back that night after having done the visits of the many doctors and figuring out karna kya hai, second opinion, third opinion, what do we do? It's like, is it life or death? Like there were all these questions that were happening through the day. But when I went back, this is the question I asked myself: what do you want? And that is something that I've been practicing now for the last 8, 9 years. And it's something that I always teach people in my own community, that no matter what's happening, even in conversation, sometimes we forget, we lose track, right? And when we lose track, that's when we get lost. That's when we get, and especially aaj ke zamane mein, we have social media that is waiting to like, to like suck us in and confuse the hell out of us. Always, when in doubt, like zoom out and ask yourself this one question: what do you want?
Thank you so much, Rahul. I'm sure
Thank you.
all of us are waiting to learn from you, join your community, and celebrate this life, this journey with you,
Thank you, Sanibhai.
the inward journey and the outward journey.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rahul. We
Thank you,
wish you all the best in all your noble future selfless endeavors.